Okay, so for this episode of WandaVision, episode 6, um, we get an introduction of kind of like a sitcom intro, sort of like Malcolm in the Middle. And it features, WandaVision, Tommy, Billy, and Pietro as himself. Why does that have to be emphasized? Everybody else is playing themselves. So, kind of curious a little bit on that. So, it is Halloween, and everybody's getting ready for a fun event, and the twins are dressed up. Billy looks like his adult version of himself, named Wigan. And Tommy hasn't discovered his costume yet, um, but that comes later when he's influenced by Pietro. And I think one of the most fun things about this episode was seeing Wanda and Vision like dressing up as their comic counterparts. It 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 just it it made my heart melt for one because they always try to play on actual aspects of the original costumes from the comics, but they have to kind of ground it in the real world. Whereas here, it's just full on, just flaunting it, and it's beautiful, and oh, it was great. I love it. So, Vision states to Wanda that he is off on a neighborhood watch. And Wanda's a little bit disappointed because this was the kid's first Halloween. And but Pietro was just like, "No, I'm here. I'm the great uncle, and we're gonna have all kinds of fun. Dad can go shoe off and do whatever he needs to do, and whatever's important, and all that kind of stuff." So, I mean, that's how everything kind of like lays off. Meanwhile, outside the hex, Sword and Director Hayward is just going berserk. He is just determined to put an end to this. It's like his gut mission that he will take no precautions at all whatsoever to bring this down. And Monica is just like, yeah, I understand that Wanda is a huge part of this, but there's something else to it, and we have to find out what it is before we can basically, bring her down. And, you know, Darcy Lewis, Jimmy Woo are kind of like on the same side, and Hayward is just like, get rid of them. I don't want to hear any of their jargon anymore. So Pietro is basically like telling the twins to be badasses as they can be, and go around, get all the candy that they can get, and smash pumpkins and all that kind of stuff. And uh, Wanda doesn't necessarily like it, but it's her brother, and uh, she has to rein him in. Um, So then we take a look at Vision's inspection of the rest of Westview, and toward the border of the hex. And he finds that things seem to be a little bit monotonous. There's a lady that's stringing I think maybe spider webs or the clothes. I wasn't sure. But she was just doing the same episode over and over and over and over again. And then eventually you see a tear run down her eye. She knows she's trapped. Okay, and then this episode's commercial comes up, and there's this kid on a deserted island, and he's clearly starving, and a shark shows up surfing, says, "Hey, I got this yogurt stuff. Um, it'll help keep you going. Uh, ta-ta." And he leaves, and the kid can't get the container open, and over time that passes quickly, he dies. Very morbid, and it's really hard to say how that falls into what is going on in the storyline, because all the commercials thus far have had some significance to the show or the storyline of WandaVision or the Avengers in general. Um, so yeah, and it really, really creepy. So as Pietro and or slash Peter hangs out with Wanda a little bit more, she's trying to piece things together a little bit, and he says, "Well, do you remember this one Halloween, whatever, and blah?" And she's like, "I don't remember it that way." That was actually earlier on in the episode, but it got to the point where she asks, "Where's his Sokovian accent?" And he's like, "Well, where is yours?" And something of their attention got drawn away, and it cuts to Vision walking down this pretty much dead street of kids that are running around aimlessly. And as I said, there's the woman stringing the. Oh, it's kind of like a ghost, and yeah, whatever. Um, and then he eventually pulls off his costume and goes into his usual uniform, and he spotlights a car that is sitting at a traffic stop. So he decides he's going to check out and see who it is and if he can help them. Vision realizes it's Agnes, and she doesn't quite seem to understand what is going on. She's like, I was supposed to go to town hall. Somehow I was lost, and Vision was like, "You've lived here your whole life." Um, and so, he put his hand up against her head and kind of jolted her awake, and she was like, "Oh my gosh, you're here to save us. You're Vision. You're an Avenger. We're so happy. You're dead." "Am I dead?" And Vision's like, "What?" And Agnes is like, "You're dead." You're dead. You're dead. You're dead. And Vision, like, zaps her back into Agnes' brain and lets her travel on however she goes to travel. So now that Monica and Dr. Lewis and Agent Jimmy Woo have been kind of separated on their own, they're trying to figure a way to get back into the Hex. And Darcy says to Monica that it's pretty much impossible for you. You've been in and out, it's changed you. Another change like that could be somewhat dangerous. We don't know what it could mean. Um, Personally, I think it's gonna allude to the fact that she's gonna be Photon. And I love it. My theory. So back in Westview, Wanda and Pietro kind of go through a why and why not about like their memories, their powers, their questioning of their heritage, and all that kind of stuff. And um, and it's getting very frustrating for Wanda because while she wants to have her brother there, this clearly is supposed to be her brother, but he is not. And I'm curious to see how they're going to play it because naturally he's Quicksilver from the X Men franchise, which could be dubbed as a multiverse version of Quicksilver. Um, but it's still too choppy. It's still too unnatural to confirm. So it's really gross at this point in time. So Vision decides to find the dividing point between Westview and the rest of the world, and he finds it. He's able to get through, and it starts tearing him apart. But he is able to get through, and um, Billy senses this and tells his mom, and he's like, "Mom, Daddy's in danger. I can sense it." And Wanda's like, "You have to focus. You have to concentrate. What is going on?" And he says, "Daddy's dying." Um, so Wanda just basically like unleashes her power, and she starts extending the dome of Westview, and this freaks out the people of Sword, obviously. Um, at some point, because of defiance, Dr. Darcy Lewis got handcuffed to a vehicle, um, and she was stuck there and got sucked into Westview. And Jimmy Woo and Monica Rambeau got away. Hayward's trying. Oh, Hayward is trying to get away as fast as he can, but the broad spectrum of Wanda's power is just growing exponentially, and it's changing so many things along the way. Circus aspects, old 1950s car shops, circus mimes, things like that, and and the vehicle of um, Monica Rambeau and what's his face? I've lost it, but they're kind of getting hit by it. They're not sucked in yet, and it's all kinds of struggle. It's dramatic. It's epic, and then you see Wanda, and her red eyes collapse into her original eyes, and that is the end of the episode. Ah! This show is so freaking compelling. There have been so many rumors of spoilers that have been going on about the show, and I don't want to know about them. I want to be legitimately surprised. Um, and I know that there is like history in the comics that might be brought into this this tale, and um, in that aspect, I kind of do expect some spoilers if they take those routes. Um, but I think there are too many twists. I think there's too many twists. I think Pietro is the Pietro from the X-Men side of a different universe that's been brought over, manipulated by some other creature to be the Pietro that Wanda lost. Um, he wasn't built with everything that he should have been, so it makes it hard for him to communicate with her and connect with her on a prior child level. Um, I have a feeling that Agnes is Agatha Harkness, and she watches over the twins, which in all actuality, the twins were never actually real. They were manifested um, by Wanda. Um, Somehow or another, they do become real, and which is great because Billy, who is Wicca or Wiccan, he's a gay character, and I just really loved that inclusion. And considering that they already have him dressed up as kind of like his adult counterpart in this Halloween episode was really nice. And yes. Um, so as other things that I take away from this is that Monica Rambeau is gonna gain powers, uh, being thrusted in and out of um, this hex. It could happen yet again before the show is over, and then finally, bursting out with her photon powers. Um, Darcy getting sucked in. Um, oh, it's really hard to say. what I feel about that, because I mean, Darcy was so underplayed in the Thor movies, and I was so glad that they brought her into WandaVision, and she's been influential and likable. Um, so I'd hate to see that they throw her away, but if they made her some kind of famous Marvel character, that would be pretty awesome. So, anyways, this has been too long. Thank you so much for watching. I really appreciate it. Um, I'm watching WandaVision 6 while reviewing it. It's This is such a good show. But anyways, I have to go. So leave comments, like, dislike, leave theories. Don't spoil. Um, don't be rude to anybody who has opinions. And thank you so much for watching. We truly appreciate it. Love and light to you all.